Welcome to the journey of the Aries soul, a place where fire is tested not to be extinguished, but to burn brighter than ever before. Maybe you're walking through a season where everything feels like a test, your faith, your love, even your very self. But remember this, God doesn't send storms to drown you, He sends them to teach you how to walk on water. 10 sacred tests lie ahead. Each one is a doorway, opening to a deeper level of awareness, where you'll not only find your strength but also the quiet, timeless voice of your own spirit. Now, take a quiet moment. Let your heart open like the first light of dawn, soft and steady, rising from within, because the first lesson is about to begin. The test of patience, where God teaches you that sometimes slowing down isn't stopping, it's how you begin to hear the whisper of destiny. The world often tests its strongest souls with silence, not with chaos, but with stillness that stretches endlessly, where nothing seems to move forward, no matter how much of your heart you've poured into it. Aries, you know that feeling, don't you? When the fire inside you wants to roar, but life insists that you sit still, watching time drift by slowly like a river that refuses to meet the sea. You wonder, why does God make me wait? Why not now, when I'm ready, when I've worked so hard? But it's in that waiting that your soul is being refined. Those quiet, restless moments aren't wasted, they are sacred chisels, carving the word faith into the core of your being. If everything came easily, you would never learn how to listen. Waiting is a silent prayer, a sacred space where those who dare to stay hear the whisper of destiny. Patience isn't standing still, it's continuing to believe, even when you can no longer see the road ahead. Picture a seed buried in the dark. It doesn't see the sun, doesn't know when it will rise. It only feels the weight of soil above. Yet beneath that darkness, life is quietly unfolding, slow, steady, divine. God is doing the same with you, Aries. He doesn't want your fire to fade. He's teaching you how to keep it alive even when no one else can see it. Because the flame forged in stillness is the one that survives every storm. So when life seems to hold you back, don't rush to resist it. Look around, you might already be standing inside a sacred moment you just haven't recognized yet. Every dream, every prayer, every path has its own rhythm. The universe is rearranging the pieces so that when you move again, everything will align in perfect harmony. One day, you'll understand the gift was never about getting there faster, but about learning to trust every quiet step along the way. Because only through patience do you become a co-creator with God, one who waits, who listens, who finds miracles hidden inside every silence. And just as your spirit begins to rest in that peace, something stirs, a new feeling brushing gently against the flame in your heart, familiar, yet stronger, deeper, like a wind arriving at the exact moment it was meant to, not to extinguish your fire, but to ask if you have truly learned to master it. In a world that never stops testing its limits, no one understands the power of emotion quite like you, Aries. You were born with the heart of a warrior and the soul of fire. When you love, you give it all. When you hurt, you burn from the inside out. There is no middle ground in you, it's all or nothing. But there are moments when that fire doesn't bring light anymore. It flares into anger, into a pain so raw it could destroy everything in its path, even you. And that's when God steps in, placing a gentle hand on your shoulder, whispering, "Look at your fire. Your anger isn't evil." It's the soul's honest response when something reaches too deep. Injustice, betrayal, disappointment too heavy to name. God never asks you to put it out. He wants you to understand it, to see that anger is part of your fire. And only when you learn to guide it does your light truly shine. Anger isn't the enemy. It's a silent teacher, showing you awareness, the limits of pride, and the sacred power of calm in the middle of a storm. Maybe you've hurt someone in a moment of rage, said words that burned your own heart as they left your lips. But, Aries, in that very moment, You were being taught that the path of light isn't about defeating others, it's about mastering yourself. When you can pause in the heat of your own flame, breathe, and listen to the rhythm of your heart, that's when your soul grows. Self-control doesn't make you weaker, it turns you into the kind of force even the winds bow to. Each time you choose silence over reaction, you heal a piece of your past. You no longer need to prove your worth because you've learned that anger only survives where fear still lives. And when you begin to see anger through the eyes of love, it melts into clarity, into a pure light that makes others feel safe just by being near you. Picture a warrior standing in the middle of a battlefield, his sword still burning with fire, yet his face serene. He doesn't need to strike. His calm presence alone makes the darkness retreat. That's you, Aries, when your fire becomes light. Then slowly, as the blaze within your heart softens, as your breath deepens into quiet peace, something new begins to fill the space. It isn't loud, nor fierce, it's a stillness, strange yet alive. A silence where you can finally hear the echo of your own soul. A sacred space, as if God Himself is inviting you into another kind of journey, one where strength no longer comes from action, but from the still, steady rhythm of your quiet heart. Loneliness has a way of arriving when you least expect it. It doesn't come with noise or warning, it drifts in softly, like morning fog settling over an empty field. Aries, sometimes you think you've mastered the art of walking alone, that your strength is enough to carry you without anyone else. But when night falls, when the world grows quiet and your heart grows louder, you realize loneliness isn't emptiness. It's a mirror, reflecting the truest shape of your soul. God allows these quiet seasons not to weaken you, but to help you see yourself in honest light. When no one stands beside you, you begin to hear what's always been there, the beating of your own heart, the whisper of your dreams, the soft calling of your spirit toward what truly matters. In those moments, you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to be strong to the point of silence. Just be present, sincere, still, long enough to notice that peace was never gone. It was waiting inside you all along. There will be nights when your heart feels heavy, as if the world is slipping away from your hands. But even then, your fire keeps burning quietly. It doesn't need anyone to light it. It's fueled by faith and the memory of everything you've already survived. Every moment of solitude polishes your soul, layers your spirit in quiet wisdom. And under the dim glow of stillness, you begin to see. No one is born to be saved by another. We are born to rediscover ourselves. Loneliness teaches you to value connection. After walking through the wilderness of your own silence, you see others differently with gentler eyes, knowing everyone is fighting a hidden battle. You stop searching for someone to fill the emptiness and start hoping to meet those who can walk beside you in peace. In the hush of your spirit, you begin to hear a sacred rhythm, a guiding pulse, a voice so soft yet powerful enough to stir your heart awake. Like the first wind that touches the surface of a lake, barely there, yet shifting everything. You realize you were never lost, you were being led somewhere deeper. A place where you understand boundaries, where you move with the rhythm of life, and where strength is no longer measured by how far you go, but by your ability to stop and feel the holiness in every step. That light begins to open before you, gentle, inviting, as if the universe itself is whispering. It's time to learn about boundaries, to master your energy, so you are no longer swept away by it, but can guide your own fire with purpose and divine timing. Some souls are born with a burning need to go beyond every boundary, and you, Aries, are one of them. Inside you lives a restless fire, a voice that whispers from deep within, pushing you to break walls, to move forward even when you don't know where the road will lead. But life isn't meant to be a race of speed. God gives you the test of limits, not to restrain you, but to teach you how to listen, how to guide your fire, instead of being consumed by it. When you were young, you believed true strength meant never stopping, that courage alone could open every door. But then came the days when, no matter how hard you tried, you hit invisible walls. Plans fell apart, people you trusted walked away, doors that once stood open closed right before your eyes. You felt anger, frustration, as if the universe was questioning your strength. Yet in those very moments, God was teaching you something only mature souls come to know. Not every limit is a barrier. Some limits are blessings in disguise. Boundaries teach you to step back and see the whole picture. They remind you that strength isn't about forcing outcomes, but knowing when to pause, when to wait, when to listen. Like a river, the calmer and deeper it flows, the better it learns to bend around the rocks without losing itself. Your fire is the same, Aries. When guided by discipline, it no longer burns to destroy, it warms. It no longer reacts, it radiates. It doesn't rage, it endures. You may once have thought discipline was confinement, but one day you'll understand discipline is freedom. It focuses your energy on what truly matters, freeing you from what doesn't. When you set boundaries for yourself, you make room for miracles to unfold. Those very limits you once resisted become the sturdy frame that holds a life of balance, purpose, and meaning. Along this path, you stop fighting the world and start working with it. Because the universe was never against you, it was synchronizing your rhythm, keeping you from losing yourself in the rush. And when that truth finally lands in your heart, you'll see within the stillness of discipline lies a deeper kind of freedom. The freedom of someone who knows who they are, who knows when to stop, and who understands how to let their light travel farther without burning out. In that moment of quiet mastery, as you stand steady within your own flame, a soft wind passes through. It doesn't challenge your strength or test your control. It arrives as a gentle invitation to step into a new lesson, one of humility, of grace, of bowing low enough to touch the sacred ground of a humble heart. The true strength of a soul isn't always found in the sound of victory. Sometimes it hides in the quiet moment when you bow your head and admit you don't know it all. Aries, you were born to lead with a fire that refuses to lose, with a light that naturally draws others to you. But God knows, light without humility can become a proud torch, one that burns the very hand holding it. So He places moments of confusion along your path, situations that humble you, that force you to listen instead of speak, to step back instead of pushing forward so that you may learn what true growth really means. There were times you felt unseen, times when your heart ached because your efforts were misunderstood, undervalued, dismissed. But those moments weren't rejection, they were invitations. God was inviting you to look inward, deeper than before. Humility doesn't mean becoming small. It means being so secure within yourself that you no longer need to prove anything. You begin to understand that real strength belongs to those who can listen, even when they're right, who can smile instead of argue, and who can give thanks even in moments of disappointment. When you learn to bow your head, you don't lose your light, you soften it. It becomes warmer, safer, more human. People no longer just see your strength, they feel your sincerity. Humility deepens your presence. Your words gain weight. Your eyes begin to listen more than they judge. And in that quiet, something miraculous happens. You realize you never needed to stand above anyone to be respected. You only needed to live truthfully to be loved. There's a rare kind of power that only appears when a person is no longer driven by ego, the power of understanding. You no longer seek to win over others because you've already won the hardest battle, the one within yourself. You no longer need to prove anything because you are the living proof of what you believe. In that moment, your fire shifts. It no longer burns to conquer, it glows to comfort. And as your flame turns gentle, the world around you softens too. Everything becomes quieter, deeper, clearer. Then, in that stillness, God smiles once more, preparing you for another lesson, not about the light of humility, but about the shadows of failure, where you'll learn the hidden beauty of falling and the sacred strength of rising again with your own hands. Failure is the moment when all the light inside you seems to fade. When your heart cracks open, your hands let go, and the dreams that once burned so bright feel like distant memories. Aries, you've been there in those heavy moments when the world turns away, when what you believed in collapses, when pride is traded for invisible wounds. But remember, God never takes your light away. He only refines it, makes it clearer, stronger, and truly yours. Some failures arrive quietly, like a passing wind. Others crash down like thunder, leaving your heart trembling. But all of them share the same purpose: to teach you how to look within. In the sound of your dreams shattering, you learn that courage isn't the absence of falling. It's the grace of bowing your head, gathering your broken pieces, and beginning again. Failure doesn't make you small. It teaches you to grow in ways that victory never could. The wounds that once ached will become marks of strength, like cracks in a gemstone that allow the light to shine through even brighter. Every fall is a lesson in faith, in resilience, in the sacred art of keeping your fire alive during the darkest nights. You begin to understand what truly matters isn't how many times you've fallen, but whether you still choose to walk forward, even with trembling hands. Failure teaches you to love the human within you, the one who tried, who believed, who dared to dream. When you sit among the ruins and whisper, "I'm still here," that's when real strength is born, not because you've conquered, but because you've stopped fearing. You've seen the darkness, touched the pain, and still chosen to rise, to love, to believe, to live. That is the greatest victory of a maturing soul. Through it all, you realize something deeper: that sometimes failure opens the very road you were meant to walk. It takes you to places success never could, to the heart of compassion, to the grace of understanding, to the quiet light you now see in others. And one day, when you look back, you'll smile at the scars that once made you ache. They'll no longer be symbols of pain, but proof that you lived, you learned, you loved, and you never gave up. In the stillness that follows every storm, your soul begins to hear a gentler, a rhythm, a quiet call from deep within, reminding you that true strength isn't just in standing up again, but in opening your heart, reaching for others, and letting your fire burn, not to conquer, but to warm. In this life, there will be times when you are so strong that you forget others are fighting their own silent battles too. Aries, you were born with fierce vitality, with a will to conquer, with a spirit made to lead. You've grown used to moving forward, breaking through obstacles, often unaware that behind you walk souls, carrying quiet burdens, waiting for nothing more than a gentle look or a hand that simply listens. So God never takes your fire away. He only places His hand upon your heart, opening it just enough for you to learn a new kind of strength, the strength of compassion. Compassion isn't just about understanding others. It's about daring to let your own heart be touched. It's when you look into the eyes of someone who's hurting and recognize your own pain reflected there. It's when you stop judging, stop trying to fix the world, and simply sit beside someone in silence, letting them know they're not alone. Moments like these grow your heart more than any victory ever could. Sometimes you think emotions make you weak, Aries, but they don't. They connect you to humanity itself. When you open your heart, when you allow it to melt into another's pain, you step into something sacred, a space where people no longer compete or compare, but simply understand and love. God wants you to know the strongest flame isn't the one that burns everything down, but the one that gives warmth. When you pause amid the noise, when the hand that once held a sword learns to hold another's hand instead, you begin to feel your true power. Because compassion doesn't just heal others, it heals you. Each time you forgive, you become freer. Each time you listen, you expand. Each time you open your arms to someone else's pain, you are embracing the tender part of yourself that was once forgotten. Then, somewhere along that quiet path of empathy, you begin to see that life was never just about winning. It was about loving. Every warm glance you give, every small word of encouragement you speak, becomes a spark planted into the heart of humanity. These little lights spread softly, making the world gentler, kinder, and bringing hearts closer together. And within that tenderness, something begins to bloom inside you, a sense of rhythm, of balance, of discipline. A whisper reminding you that to keep this light alive, you must weave it into your daily steps, your habits, your breath. It's no longer just a story of emotion, it's becoming a practice of devotion, where your fire, once wild and untamed, begins to find its sacred shape, steady, grounded, and beautifully disciplined. Every flame begins with a spark of passion, but to turn that spark into a lighthouse that guides you through a lifetime, Aries, you must learn something deeper: discipline. Because passion is the flame that ignites in a moment, while discipline is the quiet fire that burns through the long night. It doesn't blaze brightly at first, but it's what keeps you warm, steady, and true when the winds of life begin to blow. Discipline isn't the coldness of rules. It's a sacred commitment to your own soul. Each time you wake up a little earlier to listen to your inner voice, each time you choose to keep going when inspiration fades, each time you keep a promise to yourself, you take one step closer to the legacy this life intends for you. There will be days when you feel tired, discouraged, ready to let go. But this test isn't meant to exhaust you. It's meant to help you see the difference between what is fleeting and what truly belongs to you. Your strength, Aries, doesn't just live in beginnings. It's found in your ability to keep your fire alive when no one is cheering, when no one is watching. Discipline turns small actions into great results, turns today into the foundation of tomorrow. It teaches you to balance emotion with intention, dreams with reality. You start to realize that freedom isn't doing whatever you want, it's staying steadfast enough not to be swayed by what doesn't matter. With every small, quiet step, you're building a life of order, meaning, and grace. Discipline reveals the beauty of persistence, the art of planting seeds every day, even when you can't yet see the flowers bloom. No one may notice this quiet journey, but the universe sees, God sees, and one day you will too, when every moment of perseverance forms the masterpiece of your peace and purpose. Those who leave their mark on the world are not the most passionate, they are the most consistent. Discipline keeps them standing through storms, creating, loving, and giving, even when no one applauds. It transforms passion from a fleeting feeling into an eternal legacy. And as time slows, you'll begin to see discipline itself as a form of love, a love for your own path, your own unfolding. Because only those who truly love the journey have the patience to stay, to nurture, to refine. And when that fire within you becomes calm, clear, and pure, a new door opens. Not the lesson of doing, but the lesson of release, where God teaches you that sometimes the greatest strength isn't in holding on, but in the grace to let go. On the journey of a heart that has loved and lost, Aries, perhaps no lesson has humbled you more deeply than the lesson of letting go. You love with your whole being, fiercely, sincerely holding tight to anything that once touched your soul. You fight for what you believe in. You cling to what you love, afraid that if you release it, your whole world might collapse. But in the quiet exhaustion of your spirit, God arrives saying nothing and gently removes from your hands what you thought you could never live without. Not to punish you, but to remind you, true love never needs to be held. If it belongs to you, it will always find its way back. Letting go is never easy. It feels like standing in the cold of night, when your hands still remember warmth, but your palms are empty. It's the urge to run back to the past, just for one unfinished word, one last glance. Yet God teaches you that sometimes the most sacred love is the one that leaves quietly to make space for what is higher, truer, and more divine. When you release, you lose nothing. You simply return things to where they belong, and in doing so, you return yourself to freedom. like a leaf falling from the branch, not because it stopped loving the wind, but because it knows it's time to travel farther, to touch new skies. Some people, some dreams, some moments that once made you shine now remain only as memories. But believe this, no goodbye is ever final. It's only transformation from presence into influence, from body into memory, from holding on into loving in silence. Once you learn the art of release, you'll find that every ending carries a gift. You'll start to see new doors opening, opportunities you once missed while gripping the old too tightly. Your soul grows lighter, your steps softer. You'll understand that letting go isn't weakness, it's the deepest form of courage. The courage to trust that God knows what you need, even better than you do. In the moment you stop forcing, stop clinging, life begins to move toward you again, effortlessly. What's meant for you stays, what's complete finds its way home. You learn to be grateful instead of bitter, to smile instead of chase. And one morning, you'll wake to find peace where pain once lived. The person or dream that once broke your heart will fade like dawn mist, and you'll understand letting go was never a loss. It was the doorway to healing. In that quiet calm, when your heart has finally softened and stilled, you'll feel something sacred drawing near the final test, where God teaches you that to walk through the dark and still see the light, you'll need a faith greater than anything else, faith in Him, and faith in the path you were always meant to walk. When the road ahead disappears into fog, when every plan you once drew fades away like smoke, Aries, that is not the end. That is the moment when God invites you to walk with the feet of your soul, no longer guided by logic, no longer needing to see the outcome, but simply to believe. Faith is never born in easy days. It is forged in the dark when there is nothing left to hold on to except the quiet whisper in your heart that says, "Keep going. I'm still here." Faith teaches you to accept what you cannot understand, to trust in what you cannot see, and to smile even before the answers arrive. It makes you move forward not because you know where you're going, but because you know God never leads you astray. In your most uncertain moments, when the mind wants to surrender, faith becomes the small, steady flame that keeps your soul warm, that keeps the light from going out. There will be days when you feel like a single speck of dust in a vast and endless universe. But even then, God whispers, "This dust carries a piece of heaven." Faith allows you to see perfection in what is unfinished, grace in what was lost, and meaning in what once seemed senseless. Every time you say, "I believe," in the middle of hardship, the sky opens a little wider and more light pours through. Faith doesn't need a reason. It only needs a heart brave enough to open. Because when your soul trusts the plan of God, your fire is purified, no longer burning from fear or control, but from love and surrender. And when faith leads the way, life no longer feels like a maze. It becomes a sacred journey home. In the quiet, the breath of this final lesson, you realize God never asked you to be perfect. He only asked you to awaken. Those 10 tests were never meant to break you, but to awaken the divine strength within you. Each challenge was a mirror, reflecting the nobility of your spirit, showing you who you were always meant to become. And when you've walked through them all, when storms no longer make you tremble, when your light no longer wavers with the world, you'll understand. You have become the warrior of light. One who no longer needs to prove, to compete, or to chase, but simply to be. Burning with love, guided by wisdom, living with compassion. That is the moment you stop searching for God outside of you, because He has always been here, within the very flame that still believes.